Hello, poison friends. We are back
So-
with reminds me of that Lego movie guy with like the hello, the space guy. Space guy.
Spaceship.
Hello. Spaceship. Yep. But we're back with another episode. We're doing some more J&J stuff, but we're also talking about like opioids, which we've done a episode on opioids specifically, like the poppy plant and opium and all that fun stuff. Opium derivatives and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but the medicines that we're going to be talking about with J&J, and there's also another Purdue Pharma, I think. They're the opioid kind. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're going to talk about that. A little bit about the opioid crisis, if you will. I know we've all heard of it. What you've heard about it depends on, I don't know, what news station you might watch or something, because the media usually sort of just
chooses what to cover.
Yeah. And especially here, I don't know about everywhere else in the world. I'm sure this is a problem in other places too, but here in America these days, like, and it's probably true back in the day too, politics kind of owns the news stations as well as other things. Yeah. Not all of them. There are, but like when it comes to news, there's usually a lot of bias in news here. So anyway, whatever happened to good journalism, right? I think there's still some good stuff out there. It's just you see what they put out, what gets the money. First, I want to let you guys just remind you guys about the Patreon. You guys can join as free members. There's also there's a membership for $1 on there where you'll get like the weekly bonus episodes, and also just a link to the Discord that we all have, that we just kind of have fun on there and talk about different stuff, talk about poisons, but also there's a place on there to share your pets, and it's always fun to see doggos and get a pet that dog. And one day I'm gonna have a raccoon. And they'll know it before Adam does, because I'll take a picture like, oh my God, look at Adam's gonna come home and be like, yeah. So you guys will be the first to know. Okay.
Did I tell you I got to hold a baby raccoon once?
Oh, I would have kept it. It's probably a good thing I haven't.
I was working at the vet's office because at one point I wanted to be a veterinarian, and somebody brought this baby raccoon in, and I got to hold it, and it was just like suckling on my hand.
Yeah,
like it didn't have any teeth or anything.
They do. It was so cute. I know. One day there's gonna be like an update on Discord, and it's gonna be like,
guess what I found, Joe?
Got my rabies shot. No,
and then you're like,
be great. But yes,
oh goodness.
One day we also talk in there about like neurodivergent stuff, because we do like the neuromix chats, and if you do the $3 tier, there's like $2 $3 tiers in there. Okay, I need to go and see if they've ever fixed that, where I can just like merge them into the one, but.
Or just delete one, maybe even.
Yeah, because like
send a warning out to whoever's on that one still.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just let me know.
I'll figure it out. I'm still learning all this technology, but you guys have been a great help with that, so thank you. So there's all that neuromix chats and poisons in the news, where we do kind of a monthly thing. Me and Adam do a monthly sort of update on what's going on here around the world concerning poisons, diseases, healthcare, kind of in general in relation to both of those. So y'all that are traveling, stay safe, because every time I get on, like, I look at the news, it's like another series of methanol poisonings. So, and a lot of it's like in different parts of the world where, like, say the alcohol is made locally, like there. So if you're going to be drinking somewhere, make sure you're drinking something that is branded and that you can trust,
or something strong enough that's going to kill whatever's in it,
because methanol
right?
Methanol can be deadly. If it doesn't kill you, it can make you go blind. It's not good. So
not that we recommend drinking,
right?
But
yeah,
in moderation.
Drink responsibly.
Exactly. Be smart.
Is that what it says on the things? Yeah, because alcohol itself is also a poison. It is, but so is sugar.
Yeah,
we're all gonna die. Anyway, moving on.
I'm gonna be a victim of sugar. Responses about the super.
Did we?
Stuff.
Let's see. Anti-hero, Deadpool. It's not a superhero. Yeah, I can see that. Spider-Man and Cap, like Captain America, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
By their morals. Yeah, they're more like, they're like lawful good, I guess. They're like lawful good. Iron Man has the money to back up the attitude. Like, I like Iron Man more than I like Batman. Like, I know they're both ego maniacs to some degree, but
Iron Man just feels better.
Yeah, Iron Man is a little more positive, and he's actually funny. He'd probably get on my nerves, but Harley Quinn. I like Harley Quinn. She's cool. Let's see what else we got in here. Gerald is Gerald is the sea lion in Finding Dory, right?
Yeah.
Gerald, do you want to come sit on this rock? But we're talking about Gerald, the dolphin
Apollo
from the Gerald we were talking about is a Florida man story. But yes,
go back
listen
to the what was it, the Oracle of Delphi episode.
Yeah. But Gerald is also a sea lion. I do love that. That's Idris Elba that talks to Gerald, right?
I don't remember.
And isn't there a bird on there named Becky?
Probably.
Like she
I
carries
think so.
That's a good movie. I gotta watch that movie again now. Oh, and it's got the beluga whale. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track again. We're just like, I hit my head very hard out there. It hurts. Good movie. Anyway, I'm gonna read off our list of patrons because we do that for all of our paid patrons as well. So let's get on to that so we can move into some actual topic because I know we'll totally find wildlife and get distracted somewhere along the line.
Maybe wildlife will be good today and not distract us.
I don't know. If you see a raccoon,
don't tell you.
Probably a good idea. All right, so we've got Nicole Crane, Brett Moser, Lynn Rocket, Ogre the Viking, Maggie Yarm, Maya Shostak, Sasha Rubel, Nicole Rivers, Liz Bianchini, Dixie Painter, James Mills, Bobby Sue, Amanda B., Mara Santiago, Grace Lahan, Genevieve, Nevesha Treats, Jay Went, Ingan Hafner, Kiri Yorsek, Kate Linanen, Jessica Gasparini, Soy Kasumi, Thomas Huff, Glow and Go, Julia Franzoni, Lady Digitalis, Leah Marie Madsen, Ebby, Supergirl Sway, Creative Otter, Dizzy Dancer, Mr. Slave, The Warped Witch, Dalek Party, Jennifer Ramirez Johnson, Desiree Davis, Melissa Immel, Lynn Simpson, Aaron Carey, Kristen Arnold, Rynell Alara, Oma D, Bonnie, Christian Skradegard, Prim Risen, Stuart Slattery, Minnesota SPT, Pungrammed 101, Caitlin Martin, Wendy Goldstone, 2 Fidgety, Jennifer Wilson Richter, Old Man Clyde, Anna Marie, Vix, Blau Frosh, Morgan J. Brittingham, Christine Moljadi, Pterosaurus Hex, Estar, Knit Ninja, Sarah G., Jefferson Vargas, Donna Lanchinese, Lauren Smith, Banana, Serpentine Fire, Melanie the SLP, Stuart Lee, Chris Milanak, Hetty, Hantapalooza, Lisa M.N., a.k.a. Schmut, Kelsey H., Paper Sky, Hannah Cook, Cabazar, Britt Clark, Paris Longer, Andrea, Shameless Agitator, Ruby Salazar, Cassandra Smiles, Daniel Sword, Jasmine, Dr. Doom, Maureen Hart, Justin Higgins, Nigel Hawkins, Judy Lowe, Seamus Pict, Lisa D.W., Lashia Paris, Jesse Pollard, Sarah, Jahira, Everyday Delirium, April, Alicia, Melifantastico, Panda Cannoli, Amber Golder, Donna Foley, Teethwear 5, Natsumaya Terin, Tater the Gator, Hannah Rose, Sherlock and Watson, Ragdoll Cats, Nozumiko, Michelle with the one hill, the one all. Now I feel like Marcus, Robert, Catherine Gottabed Fraser, Brittany, Lisa Fagan, Haplo84, Anne Kittalong-Will, aka Dubs, Megan Geiger, Gillian Golding, Lucy Galloway, Toby Marie, Shelby Knowles, Catherine Smith, Aussie Sapper, 92, Sarah Weeks, Lisa Johnston, Danielle Galagos, Evan McCann, John F. Taylor, Manal Majali, Salex, and we got some new patrons here. We got Schemo. That's fun to say. Schemo. Carney74 and Kim Wombles. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and to all of our listeners as well for just putting up with our many distractions as we go along.
Speaking of wildlife.
Oh yes, it's so cute.
And then I saw this guy over there.
Yeah, I do love I love some raccoons too.
So I figured I'd bring him over here so you get some raccoons nearby.
Yes. So, raccoon buddy. There you go. Can't get rabies from this guy. He's so cute.
Little stuffy.
He's so cute.
There we go. Should I set him down somewhere?
No, you're good. Okay. You're good. I'm just gonna be staring at him. So we are talking, as I said, about J&J a little bit here, but we're talking about Duragesic, which is their fentanyl patch.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about the med itself a little bit and just sort of, Johnson and Johnson's misbehavior when it came to their opioids, not just theirs. I know I've mentioned before, literally all of the pharmaceutical companies that we've at least mentioned, whether it's J&J, whether it's Bayer or we talked about a lot of them, honestly. Pfizer, all of them have done some not so great stuff, usually lying about things, not informing when there's a problem. Bribing, a lot of that. There's things that they should get in trouble for too, in my opinion, that they don't. Like it's allowed, like that they can like literally pay like millions of dollars to politicians and stuff to help get their agenda. Like that bothers me.
Yeah.
That should bother anybody, right? But it's apparently legal. So, so Duragesic, this is one of their opioids. It's their fentanyl patch. Basically, it's a synthetic version of opium. We've talked about opium before, and it comes from the poppy plant, the opium poppies. And usually, when they grow them, they cut the little section, and it kind of bleeds this white stuff. They go back and collect that sort of resin. It's a whole process. It can be very labor intensive. Now they have like machines, I think they use to actually harvest all that. But with fentanyl, it's fully synthetic. I'm pretty sure like they create this in a lab, and it's actually incredibly
dangerous,
potent. It's more potent than morphine by far. So, which is itself potent. And morphine is an opium derivative, so not as much synthetic. So we're talking about Johnson & Johnson's descent into the creation, marketing, and selling of what would lead to what we now know as the opioid epidemic. This epidemic of sorts is honestly poorly understood, I think, by really anyone outside of medicine, and that's been due to many reasons. And I mentioned the media and stuff earlier, like saying things here and there, and not necessarily. I hate to say not knowing what they're talking about, but they get their information from places too, and it's just it ends up being secondary source type stuff, right? The situation has been and is real, of course, but most of the public has really only learned much about it from like a political viewpoint too, which is weird, if we're honest. Like it's been used as a sort of like play for voters and stuff. Like we're gonna take care of this, but they don't explain what this is. That kind of thing. They do a lot. They do that with more than just this. Obviously, they do that with a lot. To get people on their side.
Yeah.
About things, and then you wonder, like, is anybody saying anything truthful? Anybody? I don't. Okay, they can just say anything, but there's like a whole group that will be like, "That sounds right. Let's go with that." Anyway,
we do that sometimes, but not with like.
Right, like we're not leading.
It's more so like trying to figure out a character's name in a movie or something.
Yeah,
like, that sounds.
It's not life or death and leading a country, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, true. Context matters.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, on the one hand, we do want leaders who will prevent such, easily abused drugs from being so commonly sold, prescribed lightly, that kind of thing. We want somebody who's going to be able to help regulate that and make sure only those who really need it are getting it, it's not being
not just out there
misused.
For everybody.
Yeah. But if they're going to do that, it's like they got to stop being paid by these pharmaceutical companies to do what the pharmaceutical companies want. Like we start there, right? Companies. And we're going to talk about like the proper use of these medications too, because there is a use for these medications.
Yeah,
there is. It's just
otherwise they wouldn't have been made in the first place.
Yeah, there is a use for these medications, but as we've said before, with like a lot of the pharmaceutical companies that we've talked about, money is involved, and they want to get as many people using the drugs as possible
to get money,
to get that money,
make money,
not just the intended group of patients. So, but yeah, a lot of these politicians also freely speak on pharmacology, toxicology, even when they have no expertise in the field. They'll say something, and like I said, there's loyal or like, yeah, that checks out. Think about COVID here in America. There were so many politicians and others with no experience whatsoever just saying things, ridiculous things. Maybe we should drink bleach or inject that into our system. Wouldn't that kill it? No. Or, suggesting all these different treatments. Try this, try that. It's like, you're not a doctor. Okay?
Yeah.
So, Now I've said this before. I really think it's just corrupt to let these politicians receive donations like this from pharmaceutical companies, or really any company that's just trying to buy their favor, for business. But just remember that when politicians get up and say all these things about healthcare, drugs, disease, even health insurance, they're also getting paid by a lot of companies that push for and make the laws in their favor. And it's not just them. Like I think we talked last time about advocacy groups. Like there are patient advocacy groups that are actually being paid by pharmaceutical companies, which it's like, well, who are you advocating for, really?
Right.
So, all this being said, the crisis really could have been prevented and dealt with much earlier than it has been. But here we are. Now, Duragesic is my child is making the weirdest. God, she's like unhinged today. It's like Gollum is upstairs in my room. Duragesic is, like I said, the fentanyl patch. It was made to be this time-released topical patch that would allow for pain relief, longer. It's supposed to be for patients with severe chronic pain, and it would provide pain relief for up to 72 hours while on the skin. Like you just keep it on your skin.
Yeah.
There are other kinds of medications that use this sort of patch technology, and one we'll probably get into eventually too is the birth control one. There's a chapter in the book that I was reading about J&J that had to do with one of their birth controls. So we'll go over some of that, but it'd be cool to kind of also put in really how that works, like birth control and how it works, because with the hormones and stuff. I know there was an issue a couple of years back with certain brands causing a lot of clotting, like clots and stuff, which one big issue is smoking and taking birth control pills, like at least the pill form. I don't know about the rest of them. Likely the same though, if it's dealing with the same kind of hormones, but smoking while doing it makes that risk go way, way up. So, but we could talk about that in a different episode too. But yeah. Now this sounds great, a long-term sort of pain relief for those who need it. But, as we know, opioids, very strong medications, especially the synthetic ones, very strong. They're made to be stronger than the more naturally derived kind. So they also carry some severe side effects, such as central nervous system depression. So you can have like drowsiness, confusion, weakness, poor balance, slurred speech, dizziness, and of course there's respiratory depression and death. Now there's some other like side effects too that I've seen just personally working in the hospital with patients that are on things like morphine. A lot of them have itching. Some will hallucinate. Some will see things or feel things that aren't there. It can get kind of, I've been on morphine once or twice. Last time I had to have morphine, it was when I had C. diff. That crap hurt. That hurt. Crap. No pun intended. But that hurt. Felt like somebody was ripping my muscles apart in my abdomen. Was it as bad as giving birth? No. But it was pretty bad.
So kind of like a cramp while you're like a really bad cramp on your period.
But it was
like scaled up.
But it was like constant. It didn't come and go.
Yikes.
It didn't come and go. It was just constant.
Yeah.
My God, everybody in my house is so loud. Anyway, y'all can't hear anything, but
we can.
God. Anyway, so yeah, but I remember looking at Adam because he was with me at the hospital, and I was just like, "Hey,
help!
You're my hero." Apparently, I'm really nice on morphine. So, but they can also cause GI issues. They can cause constipation. So a lot of things that get worried about in hospital settings too, because a lot of these patients aren't getting up and moving around a lot, which can also lead to constipation issues. But when was the last time they went to the bathroom? Because you don't want them getting so constipated that they end up getting
issues there.
Like blockages and all that kind of stuff. So you really have to look for all this different stuff. But yeah, there's a lot that can go along with it. But the CNS, the central nervous system depression, that's typically the more serious effect, which can kill you, honestly.
Yeah.
Now, morphine is an opioid. So for reference, fentanyl, which is a fully synthetic opiate, is 75 times more powerful than morphine. So actually, they gave me fentanyl when I was in labor and delivery. Like the epidural wasn't working. And I was in a state where I was like, y'all are going to have to cut me open because I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing anything else. I'm exhausted. Everything hurts. She, they didn't think she was going to be as big as she was. My actual doctor was on surgical leave for something else. So my doctor was on call and was just kind of like, anyway, they gave me fentanyl because of how much I was struggling in that last, round. But in a hospital setting, under supervision and that kind of thing,
and a limited
obviously
dose.
Yeah, it's gonna that is a tiny dose. It's different than, say, like illegal fentanyl or abusing fentanyl that you've been prescribed outside of that setting. We'll have to talk about the case with Michael Jackson too. Like, was it propofol, I think he died from, and his doctor was giving that to him, but he ended up giving him way too much. So too much of anything like that's gonna.
Have you seen the stuff that pops up in the news sometimes where it's like, we're like, he's not dead?
Oh my God. I feel like that's happened with a lot of celebrities that died, to be honest.
Yeah. Or it's like somebody pops up that looks like exactly like said person. I mean, I know there's, you have like what, I think at least 7 doppelgangers in the world.
I have seen someone that looked exactly like me one time, like just in this area. Freaked me out. And usually I don't notice stuff like that, but I looked over and I was like, oh my God.
Why are you looking at a mirror?
And Camilla noticed it too, and she was like, she looks just like you. So it wasn't just me that noticed it. She even had the same mannerisms. I was like,
what if? Sorry, going off on tangent here. What if it's a variant of you?
Could be. Or
future you, past you that like.
Maybe she got a time turner. That if I had a time turner, I would be irresponsible with it. I'd be like, I totally forgot nobody was supposed to see me.
Did anything crazy almost happen after you saw that person?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
Like, you know how like
she was parked right next to me though. It was weird. It was so weird.
I was about to say, how like sometimes like in the movies or like shows or stories where it's like somebody goes back to save somebody from doing something or like that like ends up getting them, in a lot of trouble or something, or hurt.
She was on her phone. My variant was on her phone. She cared.
I'm just saying, like, it would really lean into the time travel bit if, it was like, oh, stop, don't do that. And then all of a sudden,
I don't know. Then again, maybe I wouldn't know if she stopped.
Maybe she was just distracting enough that like, it threw you off enough that.
Could be. I don't know. But yeah, I swear she looked just like me. That was so weird.
I don't think I found anybody that looks like me yet.
I don't know. It's weird though.
One day.
There's a girl on that show that reminds me of you. I'll have to show her to you.
What show?
Widow's Bay.
I'll look it up.
Widow's Bay. Patricia. She reminds me a little bit of you.
Widow's Bay. Okay.
She's so fun in that show too. Anyway, sorry, getting off track again. Like I said, done a whole episode on opioids, in the past. I'm just kind of giving a refresher for this sort of.
This lady.
Yeah, but she has like some of your mannerisms too. Like I feel like her eyes are similar to yours, but like some of her mannerisms, I swear, it's just like you. She's pretty cool in that show too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, she cracks me up. I'll have to send you some like videos, like some clips.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So yeah, so that was a little bit of, just sort of a refresher there. Now, around 1990, the FDA approved J&J's Duragesic patch. And this was overseen by the director of the division for painkillers at the time. They have different, offices, divisions, whatever. Dr. Curtis Wright. Now, this is the same guy who would help approve OxyContin, allowing the makers Purdue Pharma made OxyContin, but they allowed them to advertise them as safer than most other pain-relieving options. Okay. They stated on the insert with the drug, delayed absorption as provided by OxyContin tablets is believed to reduce the abuse liability of the drug. Now, sounds great, but there's no evidence at all provided to support that claim. And as we know now, it's not true. Not true at all. They just said it. I should also mention that a year after the approval of Purdue Pharma's OxyContin, Dr. Wright was hired by them, and he was making like $400,000 a year while working for them. So, and like that time, this was like the 90s. It was the 90s. Yeah. Oxycontin became the most abused opioid ever marketed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, lies. Now, there is a particular similarity between these two drugs, oxycontin and Duragesic. Okay. Apart from them both being opioid painkillers. And they both utilize this whole time release mechanism to provide longer and more controlled pain relief. That's how it's supposed to be. But if someone really wanted to bypass these mechanisms to have a higher dose immediately, they could do it. I swear. It's so loud. Anyway. But yeah, if they wanted to bypass these mechanisms to have a higher dose immediately, they could do that. And it could easily be fatal. Also, if they're like if you have people who are making illegal drugs, and something can be laced with even the smallest amount of fentanyl, it can be deadly. So, but in this case, even with the prescription stuff, you could bypass this whole extended release sort of situation. I don't know why my hand was in your face. I'm sorry. I was trying to like make a thing, but yeah. But yeah, so you could do that by it's literally the coating on the pill itself, the oxycontin. If you crush it though, then that coating's not there. And so now there's no more like delayed sort of release, right? Yeah. So for the oxycontin, the coating on the pill is what slows its absorption. Again, if crushed or dissolved, this removes that coating and any sort of safety it did have. For Duragesic, the medicine was within the bandage. And so when you place it on the skin, it would just sort of slowly leach in. And skin absorption, slower typically than some other forms of, But if someone were to just stick the patch in their mouth or chew on it, lick it, that kind of thing. Stop licking the dang thing. Sorry. If you know where that's from.
This sounds familiar, but sorry, my brain. I was like, that sounds familiar, but
stop licking the damn thing. Good times. But yeah, so and this is actually something that was worried about, like in the hospital that I worked in. Whenever we dealt with fentanyl patches, we were changing the patches or even taking one off. Protocol was to put it in the sharps bin. It's like where the needles go when you're done with them. Like no one can reach in there and get them. You weren't supposed to put it in the trash because there was a real
risk.
Yeah, risk of people just going to the trash and literally sticking it in their mouths, and people would do that. So we put it in the sharps box so you couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Because while they may be done with it, there still can be some left on, in the bandage itself. But yeah, that just negates the safety of that time release mechanism.
Yeah.
The FDA would later claim they had no idea that it would be so easy to override these systems. And I'm like, you're the FDA. You didn't think.
What do you mean you didn't know?
Like, do you ever have any intrusive thoughts whatsoever? You don't think like, what if this happens? What if that happens? You know what I mean? Like, you didn't think about that at all?
How many times do you have intrusive thoughts in a day?
Oh God. Which kind? Which kind? Because,
I have random thoughts sometimes. Like the other day at lunch at work, I was eating yogurt. And then I had that thought of like, it's weird. You keep the yogurt in your mouth, but you don't actually chew it before you swallow it.
Yeah, it's just kind of,
because it's yogurt.
Yeah.
It's not like fully liquid, but it's not like solid either. So
it's like a colloid of some sort.
And it was just like one of those thoughts. Everybody, like when I just finally said it out loud, everybody's just like,
I do that.
I mean, like I held up the yogurt I was eating. I was like, I just, overthought it there.
See, I can only say mine to certain people because like one of mine, anytime I see a kid with a balloon, my first thought is, I really want to pop that balloon. Like, I just want to take a needle and be like, I don't even like the sound of balloons popping, but I'm like, it's there. And wouldn't that be funny if I did that? And I'm like, that wouldn't be funny though. That would actually hurt that kid's feelings. Why are we so mean like that? No, we're not going to do that. But every time I see a balloon, I'm like, pop it, pop it.
I haven't had that with a balloon, but a few weeks ago I was at hockey and there's this kid running around in the hallway with these fake lightsabers.
Trip him.
Well, no.
I wouldn't do that though. I wouldn't do that.
He was running up to people and like, I just tried to ignore him as I was walking past because I had all my gear in my hand, I had my bag, I had my sticks. And he goes to go at me and like taps me, and I'm just like, boy. That intrusive thought, I was like, this kid would be so mad if I just with the stick roll.
Yeah, hockey puck.
But I didn't. I was good, and I just kept walking. But
see, mine are just...
it's like intrusive thought. And it was just, but the kid hit me first. So I have no idea where this kid's parent was either. So it was just like...
And then there's intrusive thoughts where you're like standing like on the edge of something and you're like, what would happen if I just jumped? And you're like, you don't want to jump, but your mind is like, it just goes there.
Yeah.
Or like you're driving and you're like, what would happen if I just swerved right now? I'm not going to do it, but it's like your brain just questions.
Speaking of the driving, have you ever just been driving and then you kind of like, you come back to yourself and you're just like basically been on autopilot while you're driving, and you're just like, how did I get here safely?
Yeah.
that happens more times than I like to admit.
Honestly, I think it happens to a lot of people because everybody's just so tired. I'm just tired.
It's like your body senses enough to know like when to stop and go and turn.
Yeah.
But like for whatever reason, your brain is just not there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's like, makes you wonder, like, your like reaction time can't be good. So thankfully, like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, but yeah, sorry. I think things like that all the time. And then like, I'm not going to do it.
But I thought about it.
Definitely thought about it. I haven't popped anyone's balloons. Thankfully, I don't like the sound anyway, so.
It's all about balance, right?
Balance. That's right.
Pop the balloon, loud noise.
Just be fun.
Wait, okay, if you don't like popping balloons, what about like popping like the bubble wrap stuff?
If it's just like the small kind,
Small kind, okay.
I can do the small kind. I don't mind that as much.
Popping those things, they're so fun.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
It's the loud balloon sound.
Gotcha.
Like when I was in school, we had to do this game during field day where we would take balloons and we were supposed to go sit on them and pop them. And I'd freak out. I was like, I can't do that. And they get mad at you for not playing these stupid games. I'm like,
but I don't want to pop.
I don't want to do it. Why do I got to do it? So, yeah.
Do you remember the last time we had balloons here?
Oh, you guys were like...
After one of Camilla's birthday parties.
Yeah. I was never able to do that. The whole like inhaling the
It was so
stuff,
funny though.
The helium.
I wonder if I still have that video.
I'm sure it's somewhere in there.
I'll look later. Sorry,
so
I'm going off on a tangent. Sorry. Focus.
Also, helium is a noble gas.
Oh, what if we did? Idea. What if we did it about helium? Also talking with helium.
I do want to do some stuff on elements.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do some stuff on elements. And so that can
we have to get a balloon just for that. Like, at least to start the episode with us, like, with the high-pitched voices.
That'll be a good excuse for me to get some uranium glass when we talk about uranium.
Yes.
Which we've talked about uranium a little bit already, but you know.
Oh, and then there's another one that makes your voice really deep.
We could start a band.
Okay, sorry.
That's it.
Yeah, Darren.
Okay, where was I?
No more tangents.
Sorry. It's not the wildlife this time. It's just us. So like the FDA, yeah, they claimed like we had no idea this could happen. We don't have any forethought whatsoever. But there is some evidence that Dr. Wright, who was sort of leading that division on the painkiller side of things, foresaw a possible problem because he originally asked J&J about the potential for extraction of fentanyl from used and unused systems. So like, can they get it out of the bandage?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. He also suggested that they come up with a way to lessen its potential for such abuse or adding some like naloxone as a means to reverse the overdose. Naloxone is that medication they give people who have overdosed on.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure how that would work alongside the pain reliever, like in the same bandage, to be honest. But I don't know. I guess if like the time release worked by like releasing layers of medicine, it seems very complex to me, as opposed to like this one well of medicine over time. But even then, it didn't really work that well, and we'll talk about that. The whole patch thing does kind of confuse me a little bit because for certain things I get it, but for something like this, I'm like, how do you know it's evenly going in? And that was the problem. Was like some were getting massive doses at different times. It wasn't an even sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was asking about this stuff already. So he was thinking some stuff.
He let the intrusive thoughts in.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
sometimes you got to.
That's how discoveries are made.
He did express worry at the time that the patch would need special precautions to keep it from being used outside of severe pain situations, such as like cancer, because this medication is really for those severe pain circumstances. It's not supposed to just be used for like a bit of arthritis or back pain, which can be bad. Don't get me wrong, back pain sucks, but like this is a powerful drug for severe pain. So. And he's worried that, like, what if they start using it elsewhere?
Yeah.
Which is what happened. He also knew that the patch was not consistent about delivering appropriate doses, kind of like I mentioned. He pointed out to J&J in their own studies that the patches were delivering more fentanyl than expected at any given time. So, like, J&J even had the studies there. They were just, like, ignoring them. On average, those in the studies received 150% of the target dose within 24 hours.
Dang.
So... it still got approved, though.
Of course it did.
So, now, it's no shock that the people given Duragesic started dying from it. Not all of them, obviously, but yeah, quite a number of them. On January 14th, 1993, a 17-year-old Florida boy was given Duragesic after oral surgery. I don't know why you would do that just for oral surgery, because it's not like I get that you don't have to swallow it, so it can go on your thing, and that's better, but like this is a very
like a wisdom teeth removal kind of.
Yeah, but this is a very potent sort of drug, and I feel like when I had mine out, I could still take something. It wasn't. I don't know.
I think the most I took was Advil for mine.
Yeah, I didn't take much.
I didn't use whatever they prescribe.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like people have different sensitivities and stuff anyway. So, but yeah, they gave him Duragesic, which is a very potent medication. And he's 17 anyway. But he died in his sleep, likely of respiratory failure. And he used it as prescribed. Now, his mother, Donna Schilling, requested a file of Duragesic's adverse effects and incidents that had occurred as a result of its use. Like, you couldn't just go look them up on the internet at the time because this didn't exist. So when she received the file and looked into it, she discovered that between May of 1991 and August of 1993, there had been 52 Duragesic patients who had died in a similar way to her son. So she wrote to a U.S. senator who then sent it to the FDA commissioner of the time, Dr. David Kessler, and he wanted to push for prevention of any more of this happening, with this opioid, as well as future ones. It was that mother, Donna Schilling, who's investigating and informing, actually led to a black box warning being put on Duragesic stating that it should not be used for acute, post-operative, or mild intermittent pain. Which should have been on there already.
Initially.
Yeah. But J&J was required to send a letter to every doctor in the U.S. explaining the dangers of its use in this way. A press conference also informed the public that misuse, especially, could easily result in deaths as well. They were also incredibly addictive, and it warned against the use of these drugs in anything other than extreme circumstances, as with like end-of-life care, pains from cancer and all that. The Duragesic patch was used in such cases, where swallowing was made difficult for these situations, for these severe pain situations. Now, this was not a good look for J&J, if you can imagine, because the patient group this was now being used for, cancer patients, for instance, often died in the short amount of time that they used it. Now, this meant a limit on sales. So they contrived that they could really make some money if they were able to sell it to those with chronic pain issues in general, like arthritis, the lower back pain stuff. It's like, even though you were just told not to do that. Because this, which means they knew that this could really hurt people. Right? And if these patients became addicted, like even better for sales, right? So their marketing plans were pretty twisted. And we've talked about some of their marketing plans on past drugs we talked about with them, and it was twisted then too. But they tried the whole sympathetic approach, saying that there were too many patients that were suffering chronic pain needlessly. And it's like, y'all don't care about that. Y'all care about the money. And when problems with addiction arose, and of course deaths, they went after critics, saying that any fears over their painkillers were overblown. They're really good at hiding a lot of the numbers, or at least only discussing them out, not within the public.
Mhm.
And here's the thing about opioids. So they are appropriate for certain groups of patients, like the cancer patients, post-op, from serious surgeries, those kinds of things, like, those who are going through some serious pain, end of life care, those often, in severe pain then. Even so, it is a treatment that needs to be explained to patients and caregivers, just like any other sort of treatment. There needs to be informed consent, meaning like not just consent, but informed. Like you need to be informed of the side effects, the risks, and all these things. And it needs to be, the person needs to understand in order to consent, that kind of thing. And too many times these days, people just like sign stuff and read it.
Yeah.
Which I get with certain things, but
it's a lot
it's
of
good
stuff to read
to
sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Like when it comes to medications, it's at least good to look at certain parts of it, like side effects and things like that, or at least ask about those things. It's not appropriate, however, for those with less than severe pain and less than severe circumstances, as they literally put a black box warning.
Yeah.
I sound like a chicken over here. It's my inner child wanting to play Stardew Valley. That's all it is. No, but yeah. So it's got that black box warning on there. That says that, but it's like they shouldn't have to keep telling them not to do this. Yeah. So there are more appropriate drugs for those situations. While they have their own sets of side effects, they are safer when used correctly. There are also safer opioids and meds with safer dosages than, say, Duragesic, fentanyl, that kind of thing. Tylenol with codeine, for instance. Codeine is actually an opioid as well, but this is not. It's obviously not oxy or fentanyl. Right. An issue that has arisen alongside this opioid crisis is the stigma surrounding pain medication overall, though. There is enough of a fear that patients will forego pain medication at all, like in excruciating circumstances, because they're worried that they're going to get, addicted. And now I can understand, like, if you've had problems with addiction before, like that would be, scary because you're like, and I get that. And that's something you can discuss, like, with your doctor. Just in those cases, some people are more sensitive. So, yeah. So I get it. It can be, that part can be scary, but working with your doctor and only taking it as needed. Yeah. There's different resources, I should say.
Yeah.
Personally, I hate the way they make me feel. I don't like pain medications other than like Advil, ibuprofen or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big fan of, like, if the pain is bad, obviously I'm gonna take it. Like when I had C. diff or whatever. But like if I can manage it with something else, then I will. Which is the thing with this. It's like, if you can manage it with something lighter, you should. You shouldn't just put a Duragesic patch on it.
Just rub some dirt in.
Yeah. Don't do that. We're kidding. But this is a choice they're free to make. If they want to forego pain medication, they can. But if someone needs something like physical therapy or occupational therapy, and they're in that much pain, they're not likely to be able to handle it. And therefore they won't recover as well. So it's, yeah. Also, pain can affect the body in many ways. It raises the blood pressure, respiration rate, heart rate, tells the body to release various chemicals like cortisol or and adrenaline, interferes with sleep, appetite, just can, delay healing, causes severe fatigue, can affect the nervous system overall, which can cause anxiety, depression, and increase the nervous system sensitivity, meaning you'll just be more sensitive to touch and pain after the fact too. So, pain itself can have an effect on the body. So it's good to appropriately treat pain, Yeah. So pain relief is an important thing, but with the history of abuse, misuse, and misinformation, we've seen these two extremes where it's opioid abuse and then fear of them entirely. So, and a lot of the issues that have led to this come from these greedy pharmaceutical companies advertising drugs like this for situations they just shouldn't be used in. Johnson & Johnson was not the only pharmaceutical company doing this, of course, as we've mentioned since the start of this morbid little series. Purdue Pharma, for instance, was also guilty, and they've kind of worked together on some of this stuff when it comes to the opioids. But so just a side note on where J&J was getting its source of opium for like codeine and the other like non-synthetics. They bought this opium production company called Tasmanian Alkaloids, which was set up in Tasmania, where poppies were found to grow very well. Actually, they tried growing them there and worked really well. So they were soon making more opium than needed, though, like just for their Tylenol and codeine type medications. And so they started selling the extra to other companies, including Purdue Pharma. So they actually ended up being, Johnson & Johnson ended up being the largest supplier of the active ingredient in opioids in the U.S. and responsible for providing enough for about half of all opioid pills sold. At one point, they were supplying 65% of the country's oxycodone, 54% of its hydrocodone, 60% of the codeine, and 60% of the morphine.
Jeez.
It's a lot.
Mhm.
So they had their own little opium farm over here. Now, along with making these medications and inappropriately advertising and selling them, pharmaceutical companies also funded organizations that were made to advise, on pain relief, these different advocacy groups as well. J&J, for instance, helped fund the American Pain Society with, a very generous grant. In 2018, this organization was listed as a key facilitator of the opioid epidemic in a Senate investigative report. Now, as the report explains, patient advocacy groups and professional societies play a significant role in shaping health policy debates, setting national guidelines for patient treatment, raising disease awareness, and educating the public. So if they're being paid by pharmaceutical companies to promote certain drugs, then all of these areas can and will be affected,
Yeah.
in that pharmaceutical company's favor, really. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It is. It's like, why is this allowed? In 1996, the American Pain Society and the American Academy of Pain, that's a fun, the Academy of Pain, AOP.
It sounds like it's I don't know, like a fighting club kind of.
Right. Like how the X-Men that lived in that big old mansion?
Yeah.
Like, where do you, I live in the Academy of Pain. I don't know. It's a school for pain. But yeah, they actually helped with this. They put out a statement claiming that opioids were the most effective treatment for chronic pain of any sort. Remember that part? Not just severe pain. And that they were low risk in terms of addiction, which is not true. They are higher risk for addiction, especially when misused. The title was The Use of Opioids for the Treatment of Chronic Pain. And they said that they were citing the best science. Our science is the best science. It was a way to get doctors more comfortable using these meds for milder forms of chronic pain or postoperative pain so they could sell more. And a J&J lawyer and a paid speaker for Purdue Pharma were some of the writers involved. So obviously got some conflicts of interest here. So that's interesting. Also, both companies printed thousands of copies of this, little article or pamphlet that they were, writing.
Yeah.
Just so they can give them out to doctors across America. And there's a documented marketing plan for Duragesic from 2002. There's they have the paperwork for this. They have the evidence that stated, our objective is to convince physicians that Duragesic is effective and safe to use in moderate to severe chronic pain, such as back pain and degenerative joint disease like osteoarthritis, which is not supposed to be used for that.
Yeah.
It literally has a warning on the box not to do it.
Do not.
Yeah. So they also claimed that the patch carried a lower risk for constipation, wooziness, and other issues than other oral opioids, and this was also false. They had this timeline?
Something like that.
Tagline. I'm over here they had this timeline, I'm sure they had one of those too, but they had this tagline that said, "It stops the pain, not the patient."
Okay.
Which implies that it does nothing to impair the patient's, either physically or mentally, right?
It does until it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm like, but that's not true at all. It even says on there you can't drive. So that's one thing you can't do.
I mean,
stops you there.
I was thinking of the patients that unfortunately passed.
Oh yeah, them. It stops them entirely. Sometimes, yeah, but
just saying.
Yeah, and their tagline, they're trying to say oh, it doesn't impair anything. I'm like, but it does, though.
Yeah,
it really does. So yeah. If anything, patients tended to report worse side effects and lesser pain relief than those taking the opioid pills, like when they're doing this, the Duragesic patch.
Yeah.
Also, the need for rescue medication or naloxone was higher in those using the patch than in those taking the oral sustained release morphine, likely because it was delivering more medicine than it was supposed to over, that timeline.
Yeah.
Now, in 2001, a story was published in the New York Times detailing OxyContin's effects in Appalachia. This was Purdue's opioid medicine, OxyContin. Since 1996, the drug had become prevalent in the area, and addiction and misuse soared, as did deaths and, spread of diseases like HIV and hepatitis C, because some were like crushing the pills and, injecting them. And I worked at a hospital. There was the patient wasn't mine, but it was a coworker's, and she needed help, because she had this suspicion that something was very weird going on with this coworker and this patient and her husband. Beforehand, she had been asking for pain meds, quickly, right? This patient apparently was taking Dilaudid, hydromorphone, at home, but she was taking the oral medication. She was taking the oral pills at home, and they were a higher dose, or it says a higher dose on the medication because it's oral medication. She was getting a higher dose than she was the IV medication. There's a reason for that. It's IV medication, right? Anyway, so, but she could only have it every so often, right? Well, she stopped asking for it as much, which was unusual for her. And the nurse that was taking care of her noticed, and she was like, I think she's doing something, because her PICC line was also
kind of messed up.
Well, her PICC line it kept getting infected. So they kept having to give her antibiotics because her PICC line would be infected. And how does this PICC line keep getting infected? Because we know, and that's dangerous because that's something that's going to your heart.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't want to mess with that, but it kept getting infected, and they were like, we keep sanitizing whenever we flush and everything. We're doing everything. I don't know how this is getting infected. It turns out and they found this out because they walked in and
saw it happening.
Well, someone knocked over the lady's purse, and out came pill bottle, spoon, and a lighter. So she had been getting her pills crushed up from home. Her husband brought in her pills from home, and they were crushing them up, putting them in the spoon, lighting it up. And she had gotten a flush syringe, saline syringe. You're supposed to put those in the sharps too, even though they don't have a needle on them, but somebody threw it away, I guess. And she put it in there, and she kept using that same one every time. And she doesn't, she's not wiping it with alcohol or anything. So they realized that's also how her PICC line was getting infected. And the doctor, he was so mad. He took her off all of her medications and sent her straight to ICU.
Dang.
He's like, okay, all right, fine. You're not getting anything. Send her straight to ICU. But yeah, don't do that. That could have been really bad. She could have OD'd quite a few times, and that infection would have been no joke too. So it's just insane what you see people do, though, sometimes in the hospital.
Yeah.
Stories I could tell. Anyway, so yeah, that's what was kind of going on with OxyContin in Appalachia. So, except for this was also spreading things like HIV and Hep C because they were using the needles, they were using needles and stuff, dirty needles. It only got worse because around in 2014 and 2015, 3 of the 5 states with the highest recorded rates of drug overdose deaths were in Appalachia, including West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. Over a third of the 27 states that reported significant increases in drug overdose death rates from 2015 to 2016 were Appalachian states. The ARCs, the area of the Appalachian, reported that in 2015, deaths due to diseases of despair, such as drug overdose, in Appalachia occurred at a rate that was 37% higher than the rest of the U.S. Relatedly, a 2017 analysis of the U.S. counties most vulnerable to HIV or Hep C Outbreaks linked to injection drug use concluded that vulnerable counties were overwhelmingly rural and heavily concentrated in the Appalachian region of the U.S., particularly in the states of Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So, now Appalachia has had a long history of drug use and alcohol abuse for a long time. Moonshine.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to, especially when it comes to opiates and opioids, though, they've had a long history of it. It's actually, it's a large region. It comprises of many states and, goes all the way up to New England, the Northeast.
Yeah.
Up there. So, yeah.
Northeast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So up there. But most of the jobs there in the past, and even now too, probably, or just physical labor. So coal mining was always a local profession there. It was honestly a terrifying job because you're constantly worried about accidents, cave-ins,
breathing in the dust.
Yeah, breathing in that dust, respiratory issues, explosions. I mean, a lot can go wrong with coal mining, any kind of mining, really. So there's just so many dangers that go along with the job, and also there's a lot of pain because you're constantly bending over, carrying things that are too heavy. You're moving around a lot. You might if there's an accident, you've got pain from injuries or amputations, which have had to happen too, because of things like that. But yeah, so pain is another issue. So there's a lot of hard work and heavy lifting involved. A lot of people would end up with life-altering injuries like chronic back pain, amputated limbs, missing eyes even. So pain and anxiety were common to the area. Okay.
Yeah.
The towns and parts of Appalachia have always been pretty tight-knit as well. So if you have a neighbor telling you to try this new thing, make you feel better, you're more likely to listen and trust them because this was family, right? Like, he said it was all right, so I'm going to do it. In 1952, two psychiatrists introduced the term miner's syndrome in the American Journal of Psychiatry based on interviews with 100 coal miners in eastern Kentucky who had sought help for their nerves. The pair described the men as variously agitated, restless, shaking, trembling, fidgeting, and pacing. It was, as Erickson, one of the men, put it, battle fatigue in every meaning of the term. So doctors began prescribing medications that were known to sedate and sort of uplift, the spirit, if you will. Morphine, opium tinctures, then later medicines like hydrocodone and oxycodone. And this was, to help pain, but also help the men kind of just get back into the mines quick. Like, here, take this and go work. It wasn't just the men working in the mines, though. It was also the women who were taking these drugs to soothe pain, nerves, and depression. They were just taking it for not just pain, but also kind of the sedative effect and sort of calm them down. Many were anxious, many of these wives and stuff were anxious of getting word that their husband or son had perished in the mines. I mean, it was a rough place. Not only was this fear an emotional concern, though, it was also, it also meant financial distress after the fact. Like, your husband dies, how are you going to make money to feed the kids or yourself? As you can imagine, addiction took hold, and like doctors in this region were just really generous with these drugs. Okay, they weren't like hesitant about giving them out. So addiction took hold. Abuse of these drugs led to trafficking of them as well. There's one family in Kermit, West Virginia. There's a place named Kermit. Kermit the Frog here. Was known for selling whole or crushed up Tylox, which is just like Tylenol plus oxycodone. And they would sell it out of a trailer park next to town hall. So, yeah. They were eventually arrested in the late 80s as they really didn't hide what they were doing at all. They would literally put like a sign on there like, we're out of drugs. Come back later. Okay.
Yikes.
Like, it was just like a commonly known like thing. It was just a cultural thing at this point. Now, during the 1980s, there was a mix of oxycodone, hydrocodone, Vicodin, diazepam, Valium, alprazolam or Xanax, as well as marijuana, moonshine. These are like the local goods, if you will, right? Being kind of exchanged around. Then in 1996, oxycontin came into the scene and blew up in Appalachia. Drug reps really took advantage of the demand in the area. Like, they spend a lot of time there.
Mm-hmm.
In 2001, 50 to 90% of newly admitted patients in treatment programs in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Virginia were identifying oxycontin, also known as hillbilly heroin, as their most abused drug. I've heard of hillbilly heroin before, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly didn't know it was the same thing.
Now I know.
I do know, yeah. This became a culturally accepted way of life in the Appalachian areas.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody did it. These days, a lot of the problem in those areas comes from fentanyl-laced drugs like heroin or meth, or just like homemade fentanyl, which is potent and deadly. So that's they see more of that now than they do like these other forms. Yeah. Now, in 2007, Purdue Pharma and 3 of its top executives pleaded guilty to criminal charges that they misled regulators, doctors, and patients about OxyContin's risks of addiction and its potential to be abused.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you can imagine, this makes a company look bad. Well, J&J did the same kind of marketing for Duragesic as Purdue Pharma did with OxyContin, right? Like, there's usually not much difference. Like, they were also saying the same stuff about their drug, which was also addictive and harmful.
Mm-hmm.
They claimed that it was not addictive when it was. They said it was safer when it was not. Johnson & Johnson, despite all the messes that they had made and lies that they had told already about other stuff, they still had this like trusted image. Like, they were really good at branding, really good at getting the public to trust them, and doctors. Doctors and patients alike trusted this company. So they've been selling all these gentle products for babies for so long. They're the baby company. They're nice, right? Then J&J got a little more ambitious, and they tried to overtake the market by introducing a new opioid medication in 2008 that they believed would replace OxyContin, which I know is Purdue's drug, but they wanted something to kind of match that market and be competitive. This one was named Nucynta, and to market it, they sent reps to doctors' offices telling them that their opioids were, rarely addictive. Not true.
Okay.
And this one, but at the same time, I'm like, wouldn't doctors know that that's not true?
I would hope so.
I'd be like, wait a minute, where did you go to medical school? Opioids are addictive. It's like, it's almost like they're trying to tell them like, well, we made them not addictive. You will have to tell me how you did that, because I don't know, but here we are. But they were like,
that name sounds familiar. Like, I feel like I've heard it on a commercial before, and I don't know why.
Nucynta?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Lucinda.
Does. Maybe that's it. I don't. It sounds familiar, though.
Or Glucinda? What is that from? Yeah. It sounds like a name to me that I've heard.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. Lucinda. I wonder who names these drugs too. It's just like, do they just go like into a thing and like click? What is it? Randomize? It's weird.
Or they just take the parts of the like scientific name and just...
Sometimes they do, but then sometimes it looks nothing like it. And then like the other name for it, nothing like it. It's like, okay. Anyway. But they also said that this particular one was even less addictive. So by November of that year, however, the FDA concluded that studies suggested a high abuse potential comparable to that of hydromorphone, Dilaudid, if you will, which is associated with high levels of abuse already itself. Now, J&J's plan for Nucynta had been to put out a rapid release pill like that year, so like it's immediately effective, like or whatever, and then sell an extended release version the year after that as well. So as with the extended release OxyContin, the time release mechanism for Nucynta ER could honestly pretty easily be manipulated. Just they could crush it up, that kind of thing. Also, the extended release version of this drug especially often left patients with withdrawal effects such as insomnia, depression, suicidal ideation, attention disturbances, and others when stopped, especially when used for at least like 3 months or so.
Yeah.
Now, the FDA wrote J&J a letter in 2011, also telling them to stop misleading others about Nucynta being safer than other drugs like oxycodone and tramadol, and about it causing less GI side effects like constipation, nausea, and vomiting, because these claims just weren't true. I'm like, how many times you got to write these people a letter before you're like, just stop? No. Like, we've sent, like, is there somebody you can tell, like, we sent them so many letters to stop doing this. They're still doing it. People are dying. Like, what the heck? Yeah. So after Purdue Pharma got into trouble in 2007 for their illegal marketing schemes, J&J decided they needed some upgrades if they're going to continue to get away with what they'd been doing. So they had their computer systems changed so that they could basically, it would be harder for any authorities to track its opioid activities, like to get any sort of like paperwork, paper trail on this thing.
Gotcha.
And so what they were doing was they have this drop down menu now for reps to use, where they have these cleverly written options that could be chosen, as opposed to not so cleverly written messages that might get the company into trouble. If that makes sense. This made it so that any record of sales pitches of certain meds passed in 2008, like Nucenta, were limited and kind of hard to get as evidence. There were some sales reps, though, that still did send emails. Old habits die hard, I guess.
Yeah.
But they still sent emails in more of an unofficial sense, I guess. These were helpful in showing that what J&J were up to. So one email sent by a rep in 2010 read, "Ronald Myers, MD, is a huge Nucenta target for me. He has 2 other doctors and a PA, physician's assistant, that practice pain management in his clinic." Now, this Dr. Ronald Myers that he's mentioning was actually indicted in 2016 for essentially running an opioid mill. So,
thanks.
Yeah. Now, America was actually unique in just how bad the opioid situation got by 2010. According to the CDC, there were enough prescription opioids being sold in America to medicate every American adult with a typical 5 milligram dose of hydrocodone every 4 hours for a month.
Jesus.
So, yeah. This led to an unspeakable amount of deaths as well, especially in people who may have been more sensitive, whether it's because of age or other issues of their health, things like that. While Purdue Pharma is often blamed for the majority of the opioid crisis with their highly addictive and massively sold oxycontin, J&J has been more than heavily involved with this as well. So J&J just had a better ongoing reputation, and they had good PR. Andrew Colodny, who's considered the world's foremost expert on the opioid crisis, has said that J&J were more at fault than Purdue. He thinks they're more at fault. He says J&J was clearly the kingpin of the opioid epidemic, not Purdue Pharma. They were not only marketing their own branded opioids, but were supplying almost every manufacturer with the crucial active pharmaceutical ingredient, from that place in Tasmania where they were getting the opium.
I was just about to say.
Yeah. So it's like they're getting this opium. They're actually selling the opium to other people. Hey, guys, we're in a different room because Wi-Fi. Yeah, something like we're like at the end, and it's like, guess what?
We didn't record.
You get nothing. So just to end on where we were, the FDA was honestly either being really stupid at this point or just knowingly complicit, because when called upon to do something about this crisis, they hired Dr. Mark McClellan from the Duke Margolis Institute for Health Policy to discuss the role of prescriber education over a 2-day meeting in October of 2021. Now, Mr. McClellan, however, had worked on J&J's board of directors since like 2013. So they hired this guy who worked for the company to stop the company from misleading others.
Yikes.
So that's... according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, over 630,000 Americans died from a drug overdose between 1999 and 2016. And by 2019, drug poisoning surpassed motor vehicle crashes as the top cause of injury-related mortality in the U.S. Now, the CDC estimates that drug overdose deaths have increased by 137% since 2000. But it is good to know that more recently, the rate of deaths due to opioid overdoses, mainly caused by illegally made fentanyl or synthetic opioids, has dropped over 24% nationwide. Like, that's a more recent number. So still above what it was since 2000, but so there has been some improvement. Hopefully that number does continue to trend down.
Hopefully.
Now, one of the biggest issues with Johnson & Johnson, and there's been many, of course, as we've already discussed, is their hiding of information learned at the time of a medication's production, or, during testing, or just even years after it's been on the market. Like, when they like when we talked about the baby powder, like they found out that, oh, well, this has poison in it. We just won't say anything. Just won't tell anybody. It'd be all right. And it wasn't all right. But yeah, they just either ignore it or, if it's doing financially well, they ignore it, or they just actively hide it, if it's hurting people or killing people. And this has always come back to haunt them in court eventually. But a lot of people end up dying before it comes to that. So it's like, it's going to catch up with you eventually.
In this life or the next.
And it's like, and you're going to, like, they end up paying billions anyway when it does. Like if they get taken to court for something, they end up paying billions, right? Why not kill people? Yeah. Like, anyway, so
save yourself some money there.
True. Yeah. I don't get it. But that's just their lack of morals, I guess. Morals. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today with the Duragesic, with the opioids, J&J, and also Purdue Pharma, just sort of their issues there and how they falsely advertised, misled a lot of people, and it really caused the opioid crisis that we still see today.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I know I said this would be like my last J&J, but I'm bad when it comes to like realizing just how much I could fit into 3,000 to 5,000 words when I'm writing notes, and I'm just like, oh, that's cool too, that's interesting, yeah. And so yeah, there'll probably be at least one more, just because there's actually more that I haven't even talked about yet. But we're going to go into something a little bit different than like the medication side of things. It'll be more like devices and that kind of thing too, which anyway. But I think we'll take a break the next time around though, and do something else kind of fun, where we maybe just react to something fun, or like maybe I'll find some like old advertisements from like the 1800s, early 1900s, things that were controversial or things that we look back on now and we're like, that was a bad idea. Bad idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you guys have any that you want to send us to
look over,
react, like, feel free, send me some. Y'all can always message me on the Instagram. Y'all can message on the Patreon. You can message yeah. And y'all, if y'all can't get a hold of me, you can get a hold of Adam. He's always on social media. So, but or the Discord too. So yeah, just let us know, and we will see you guys for the next episode. Bye.